Hello, everyone, and at long last, welcome back. It's a full 40 with Chris, Rob, and Willie, part of the Nova Insider Network. We are talking to you. It is June 4th at 9:05 p.m., recording our season finale episode, The 40's, where we will cover a wide range of topics because we got a lot going on.
It's gonna get weird.
A lot happened. We were going to do the 40's in like April, and then it was like, well, the portal's still open. This Hunter Dickinson saga is still playing out. We'll keep it open for that. And then it was like, all right, we're going to do the 40's like a couple weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, we got another transfer. It's like, and then Shaq left, and then like all this stuff's happening. We're like, well, we kind of got to get the roster set before we do this episode. We waited long enough. You might as well wait until it's done.
It's very true.
So we got a lot going on today. It is Rob's last episode. We'll hit that in a minute. We're going to cover Rob's last episode. We'll probably start there. We will introduce you to the next co-host of the full 40. We'll do the 40's. We'll talk about the portal, and we'll talk about everything that's happened this off season. And we'll finish it off by what's to come. There was a press release that we put out on Friday. What's to come with the Nova Insider Network, and a lot of things that we're excited about there. We will be joined on this episode by a couple special guests. One will be our next co-host, but he'll be a guest for this episode. And I gave away something there. It's a he. And then it will also be we'll also be joined by Chris Notaro from Villanova TipTime, who will join us for the 40's and join us for some of the portal talk and to talk about the future of the Nova Insider Network. Tommy Godin was supposed to join us. As you saw, he just put out his new show, The Mainline Minute, which we're very excited about. But Rob changed the entire fucking.
I totally screwed up our scheduling. I told everybody, I was like,
Tommy's running from the grind. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah. and Rob screwed the whole thing up, and like fucking half this episode's about him. So we need to. I hope he's like I hope half. Yeah.
You guys are gonna be talking a lot. It's gonna be half. So yeah. You do you.
But a lot of this episode is about Rob being this being his last episode of the full 40. So we had to include him. And so as a result, Tommy can't join. So fuck you, Rob. And I think that's a good place to start. Fuck you, Rob. You're
that
leaving
is an
the
appropriate
podcast.
Transition. That's right.
You're leaving the podcast. How dare you?
I know.
In all seriousness, how you feeling? Is it weird that this is your last episode? Are you going to come back and join us as a guest? Like, what's going on?
No, I'll definitely come back for sure. It's actually not that weird because I think it's been a really good transition, and I think especially with the announcement that you put out the other day, it makes me even actually more excited because I think me stepping back allows the podcast and then like the Nova Insider Network to kind of take its natural next step anyway, and its natural evolution. And for some more voices who I think are going to do an awesome job to come to the table. So I think it's a good evolution. For me and for us, it was obviously been like such a fun run, and like doing this for 5 years is kind of wild looking back on it, starting from, I won't reminisce too much, but it's, we started from nothing. And I remember like our early podcast, we were joking about like, oh yeah, like Josh texted us this, or like this player texted us that. And now it's like to evolve to like, oh, well, yeah, that actually happens. And like, we chat with these guys a lot. And going from, hey, we're begging people to listen to, hey, you've got thousands of listeners and people are recognizing you when you go to games or when you go to happy hours and stuff like that. It's been really cool to see that evolution, to be part of that, to be able to contribute to something that hopefully a fair number of people in the Nova family have enjoyed and really come along for the ride. So definitely a big thanks to all the listeners. And obviously, big thanks to Chris for putting up with me. I know it was certainly a journey early on. I remember, my God, we spent so many fucking hours editing podcasts early on, trying to we spent so much time. People don't understand this. We spent so much time trying to reduce the silences between when we talked, and we thought that was the most important thing in our podcast, just umpteen hours. And then we got to the point where it's we really don't give a shit. And it's coming from that to where we are today. And it's you've got a bunch of great people on here. Willie joined, Brian joined, Rachel joined, and now, our next evolution, and we'll introduce our new co-host in a little bit. It's just been amazing to see. And, to our listeners, it's been, definitely thanks to you guys for putting up with me and choosing to listen to me, especially who, honestly, Chris and I don't know a whole lot about basketball, but Chris fakes it better than I do. So you somehow put up with me for a few years, which is pretty wild to think about. And yeah, I'll definitely be back. I'm not totally disappearing. So I'll be around and can definitely pop in when I've got some stuff to say. So, I just got some other stuff that I'm going to prioritize in a little bit more going forward. So, but yeah, it's been obviously a fun run and always be part of the full 40 family for sure.
Yeah, Rob, I'll just be honest. Obviously, you and I go way back. Freshman year when we were 2005, 2006. That season, but also just getting to know you by being on campus, and went to games together constantly, just whatever. And the whole thought that we had when we started the podcast, I distinctly remember the entire sequence of events. It was 2018 season. I think we had noodled around the idea of a podcast before that. But we were at our buddy Sandro's house, apartment. And it was the weirdest thing because we were there watching the Butler game, but also because he was formulating what would then become Sanzo, which has taken off as a company. There was a lot of creation going on in that room that day.
Yeah.
And we were watching the Butler game, kind of commenting, whatever. Then we go out, we're drinking the entire time. We go out, have some barbecue, throwing back a bunch of whiskey and beer. And I think it basically was let's fucking do a podcast. You won't. And it was we kind of dared ourselves into starting this whole thing up. And it's been awesome. And that whole season kind of, obviously, as we've long said, a really good time to start a podcast is during a national championship season. I just highly recommend that. That's just recommended in general. So if you can just preempt you starting a podcast and choose it for a national championship season, I think Leader Johnson actually would say start a podcast now. But he's saying this team coming up this year is the 2018 team Redux. So
they're the most talented. I mean,
more talent.
It's wild.
So anyway, start a podcast in national championship season. Definitely recommended. But I remember sitting with you, this is clear as day. This is one of our favorite memories. We're sitting with you. We're in a lobby of the team hotel at the Final Four, and nobody knew who we were. We were sitting there with microphones, talking, obviously recording, and people were walking up, being like, "Do you know where the tickets are?" And it was we don't work.
So good. We don't work here.
We're not part of this, but we're kind of part of it. We're not part of it. So
I love that. The biggest thing, the kind of full circle moment for me was, full circle 180, as Jason Kidd said, or whatever it was. We're gonna turn this thing around 360 degrees. Was going back to the Final Four last year, and the difference being going around to people and still trying to promote the podcast, and basically everybody's like, yeah, I know who you are. I already listened. And you're like, oh, okay. It's 5 years ago. It's literally, you were like, what the hell's a podcast? Okay, sure, I'll take this piece of paper. And it was just wildly different. It's been a crazy journey for sure.
And arguably our moment where I think that kind of put us more on the map was the Shaq Fit episode. Going back a few years. And obviously with his news that he's leaving, and we'll get into that a little bit more from a conversation standpoint, but with his news that he departed the program, it also feels a little bit apropos. There's a lot of transition. So I do think I get why you're moving on. Candidly to everyone listening, there will come a time where I'm going to move on too. That time is not yet. I've committed to this for at least another year, probably 2 more, but we'll see. But I'm staying on, and we have a big transition coming. But we're really excited. Rob, obviously, you're one of my best friends. I'm going to miss you on these podcasts. It's been our way of staying connected in a lot of ways, from going back, especially through like the COVID era, etc. So kudos to you. Job well done. Congratulations on your next steps. And sad to see you go, but happy to watch you moving forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I mean, you guys said everything. I'm the new guy in the room. Oh, I'm about to be the second newest guy in the room. But no, I mean, Rob, it's been great. Been really just a joy to like watch you grow over the last 5 years and to then become part of that growth. I know we're still going to be in touch. We're still going to talk. So I'm nothing more I need to say about this than what you guys already said, because I mean, you guys are the heart and soul of this. And as transition, we're going to keep growing and expanding. But it's been really great, Rob.
Been a blast. I was talking about this with Nicole. I was like, she's like, "Are you gonna get cut off the text chain?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I kind of hope not. It's kind of fun."
So, I think we could leave you on the text chain. I think that could be arranged.
That's good.
I think that could be arranged. All right. With that being said, we have a reveal. So, to the next co-host of the Full 40, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good evening to absolutely nobody except for Chris, Rob, Willie, Brian, and the rest of the Full 40 listeners. At long last, I get to reveal myself. I'm Trevor Kerwer, and I am thrilled to be here.
Boom. Trevor Kerwer, next co-host of the Full 40. The Full 40 will, in next season, be the Full 40 with Chris, Willie, and Trevor. So we do have a new co-host. I'm super pumped. I love that intro. If you don't know who he is, he's the guy who does the morning tweet every day. Everyone looks forward to it. Trevor's the guy. We had known this for a while, a long time, a very long time. And we couldn't be more excited to get the NIL deal done to get him part of the podcast.
We had to drop a bag, but we did what we had to do. I, for one, Trevor, I don't want to take away from you doing it from your own account, but like I need to see a couple of the Good Morning to Absolutely No Ones from the Full 40 account.
It could be arranged. I definitely I don't need to hog that spotlight anymore. It kind of got to the point with some of the games this year that I was like, man, am I still really doing this? We just lost to Portland last night. Do I really have to send this tweet this morning? But no, it's definitely fun. And just like I searched that phrase on my own Twitter the other day just to I couldn't remember where the first one came from. And it was I still couldn't tell you what game it was exactly, but it was just the picture of Jalen Brunson's Cats Play Tonight, Go Cats tweet or something like that. So I guess it was 2019 or 2020. But I was looking at that and it's 8 favorites. And now it's funny how, like you said, people get excited over it. I've been approached out before by someone's like, "You're the Good Morning guy," and I'm like, my friends are all like, "What is he talking about?" I was like, I have a niche spot in the Villanova basketball Twitter world where I just do this bit, and I joked with my friends the other day that if nothing else, I'm committed to the bit. So here I am.
I love it.
We're
nothing but committed to the bit.
I'll have you know, Trevor, it's been so big that not that you would ever have noticed this. I stopped liking it this year because I was like, maybe it's going to flip the juju. If I stop liking the tweet in the morning, maybe we're going to start winning. It did nothing. But I to that level, I was like, when he tweets it, I can't like it and I have to move on.
My favorite one was, I guess, I woke up late or I was moving late one morning and Alan Ray tweeted at me like, "Hey man, what's going on? Where's the tweet? Do the thing!"
That's so funny.
Which was the stick. Come on.
Very very. That was oh man, this is actually a thing. I guess I have to keep doing this.
I think it has to still come from his account, but we can give him access to the Twitter account, and then he could just retweet it from the Full 40 account every time. So. You got to keep up the bit. I'm sorry.
That got me this far.
Yeah, you're locked into that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But Trevor,
45 years old on the morning of my kids, first communion or something, having to tweet "Good morning" from the car ride or something.
But Trevor, give everyone your bona fide. So you graduated from Villanova. You've been a fan for even before you went to Villanova. So give everyone kind of a little bit of that, so everyone has a flavor
Yeah,
for your background.
So class of 2019. Like Chris said, I grew up a Villanova fan. My dad, my uncles, aunt's grandfather. My grandfather was classmates with Paul Arizin, so we're back there. He always joked that that guy had asthma. He never ran up and down the court. He would just stand and shoot. So that's with Jay Wright's tweet about how he invented the jump shot the other day. That was kind of appropriate, I guess. But yeah, lifelong Villanova fan. Only place I ever wanted to go to college. My earliest basketball memory is a Villanova St. Joe's game in the old pavilion. I don't even know what year, but I remember leaving the game and walking to Delory. That was my dad's dorm freshman year, and he was just showing us around. I was with my brother, and we called my mom to tell her that the Hawk was dead. She's a St. Joe's grad. But yeah, just only place I ever wanted to go. Showed up at the right time, 2016 for that magical run, and then after that, I was kind of inspired and committed to the bit a little bit further and became the one of the Wildcats, which ended up being the worst kept secret on campus.
Just to be clear,
Wildy Cat. I was Wildy
Yeah.
Cat. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Ended up being like the worst kept secret on campus. Like I would on campus, off campus, my mom would just be talking to someone on the phone and be like, my son is the mascot there. Like, like this. And I just like, Mom, can we not have this be the first thing that you mention to people when you introduce me or speak about me? Like it's really not supposed to be out there like that. But that turned into a great ride. Met a lot of my best friends through that. Definitely a lot of great memories traveling to games and doing appearances, going to people's weddings as Wildy Cat, and just a lot of exposure to things that I never would have thought existed in the background sort of thing. And that was a fun ride, and here I am committing further and jumping on a podcast.
Love it.
Is the concern of not getting the cat's identity out there because people think it's a real cat, or they're worried that like people are going to track you down for like out of costume high fives? Like, what's the risk, would you say?
I think it's more for my own sake. Like nobody needs to know that that's me losing the dance contest in front of 20,000 people at Wells Fargo. Like that was probably one of the most humbling moments of my life was the 2018 Sweet 16 Elite 8 games where we had the footage is out there somewhere, and then the Purdue it was the Purdue game and the Mount St. Mary's game where I just got absolutely destroyed in these dance contests. The ones in Boston at the TD Garden, I could not hear the song. I didn't think any music was playing, but little did I know it was like my turn. So I literally didn't do a dance move. I'm just walking in a circle around the other guy, and people start booing me and this and that. And
it's like a business trip though, so I kind of see your
yeah, it was so, definitely.
How good of a dancer are you though?
I'm a horrible dancer.
Okay,
like
so,
I wasn't.
The ceiling was real low anyway.
The ceiling
so,
was the roof, as the great one said. It was never going to be good, but it's just especially worse when like my brother's there filming it from the nosebleeds, and I'm just like, please delete this video. I don't need to see it. And then I think like my high point or low point, however you want to describe it, was there's a viral clip out there of the Mount St. Mary's. I think it was Mount St. Mary's. Who do we play before Purdue in 2019?
It was not Mount St. Mary's. It was St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
Yeah.
That guy I was sizing him up. We had like a joint locker room before the game. I'm like looking at this kid. I'm like, okay, I can hold my own for this. Like I had some friends on the dance team that took pity on me and tried to help me out a little bit. So I had a plan. I had a plan. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Like this guy starts spitting on his head and breakdancing, and all I could do was just walk. I walked off the court. Like there's a video, I have it somewhere of me just walking off the court, and and I was just like, it was my second to last game because the last game was the Purdue game, Carson Edwards. I was just like, I'm done. I'm totally washed. Let me
He ended
get
your
somebody
life.
else in here. Yeah. It was. I think I dabbed on him. I think that was my revenge. That was that era.
I used to always roughhouse with the mascot when I was in school, and then someone told me it was a girl senior year, and I felt bad because like I would like give him noogies and like kind of punch him in the stomach, and then like I'm actually just hurting a person, girl or guy. Like
Yeah, we have feelings.
themselves. Yeah.
Everybody always asks who the Wildcat is. Nobody ever asks how the Wildcat is.
Ooh,
Yeah.
That's the byline for this episode.
that's deep.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
deep.
that's from a viral viral tweet. I'm not gonna go any further than that. I think if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Don't cite our sources here. Anything you say is original.
Yeah.
I am sad to find out the Wildcat is not a real cat, though. So thanks for ruining that,
I
Brian
hate
and
to.
Trevor.
Happy last
Go,
day, Rob.
go fuck you guys.
What was? I think his name was Count Villain. Was that the name of it? Like when it was a Wildcat?
What?
Yeah, when they had a
Villain?
live. So that's what that Twitter account comes from, I think.
Yeah.
Count
when
Villain
they did
V?
have an actual like live Bobcat or whatever it was. It was called
Yeah.
Count Villain or something like that.
What a terrible name.
Yeah.
Not great.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Count Villain.
But
Villanova.
now that I
Villanova,
know that,
you know,
now that I had no idea, but now
that's
that I
where
know that,
that's the origin of that Twitter account.
Yeah.
That
handle.
Twitter account is way better. It's like just like that's a sick reference.
Yeah.
It's a deep cut.
Yeah, it's very deep cut for sure.
I got a Villanova history book somewhere here. It's like,
Speaking of throwbacks, and we're just about to bring Chris Notaro on and get into the 40s. But speaking of throwbacks, I just got to say this one more time. They had that dunk replay of Kerry Kittles in the Big East tournament. We need 90s throwbacks. It needs to fucking happen
100%.
right now. Like, period. There's no reason why it shouldn't happen.
Absolutely.
Now,
Couldn't
but
agree more.
I only know this since I grew up here and I'm a genius. Do you remember how long we had those jerseys, Chris?
I think it was 3 years.
I think it was 2. They were not very well received.
even in the 90s, they didn't like them.
Yeah, it was like
The
capitalizing on like it looks like a zany brainy logo. Like
Well,
I like
it had to be like a
90s.
Jurassic Park, like because that was like a thing. Like,
But it was like-
Raptors thing, yeah.
but like it didn't work at the time. I agree though. I'd like to see it once
The 90s are so hot right now.
rather
I
than
think
that.
we
Like
can do. I think we can do like a more muted version of it that like works. I don't want to see an exact replica. I'm going to be very honest.
well, it's better than those jerseys that look like University of Delaware that we apparently wore in 1927. That like not anyone has a memory of.
Oh, the gold ones, you mean?
Yeah, the ones where you're watching are like,
Those are
oh,
the
Michigan's
The ones are
great.
great.
No,
They're great.
they're not.
Great.
The Jack Kraft ones.
Yeah,
They're better than the gray ones we had. Remember
I mean the
those?
gray ones are the worst
church?
ever with like the church outline.
Yeah.
no,
That-
not the worst ever. Sorry.
what's the worst?
The ones with the numbers like
Oh.
in the center of the chest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
With
that's
the
it.
big
14.
V. Just
We're
right
just
here.
14,
It was
That's the
2014.
Darren Hilliard jersey. He had his
Yeah,
best games. in
it was
them.
a Nike thing that we did. We wore it versus UConn. We wore it someone else.
We
Yeah.
we
So
got
bad.
eliminated by UConn wearing those, I think.
We deserved it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting.
Willie, what?
Yeah. What
I'm on 100 years of Villanova basketball jerseys. Like they have like this link putting in the chat, and I'm just like going through. I'm like, oh, it's showing the evolution of them all, and I just haven't seen them all in one order.
All right. All right, so let's move on. So Chris, welcome. Chris Notaro, host of Villanova TipTime. Welcome to the
Hey, everybody.
show.
How's it going?
Good. So we've done a couple things so far. We've given our farewell, nice comments to Rob, so you don't have to worry about being nice to Rob for the rest of the episode. We've welcomed Trevor Kerwer, who will be the next co-host of the Full 40. So that
The
is a
new
live. What's up?
The new.
The new. That's right. So we've done a lot of things. All right, we've accomplished a lot. We actually have to talk some Villanova basketball, and so we're gonna jump into the 40s. So welcome. You're part of it. So
Right.
So I think Willie is going to lead us and has a handful of awards and topics for us to discuss. They will, as always, we hand off theoretical bottles of malt liquor to the winners of these awards. So congratulations in advance. I hope you guys enjoy. You could be whatever malt liquor that you enjoy, whether it's the Old English, whether it's a Colt 45, whatever you want the theoretical bottle of malt liquor to be, you can have it. You can have it your way. Like BK.
All right. So let's get into it. So it's the 40s. We're going to start off. I think we're going to start off just kind of talking about a little bit of the games. I want to get more into some of the more theoretical ones, but I want to kind of talk about game of the year. We're going to start let's wrap up the season. We don't want to talk too much about this. We're going to end with Alpha Dog probably, but we all know who that's going to be. So we'll save that. But game of the year, I'm taking all nominations. What I'm nominating I'm nominating 2 games, frankly. One is the first game back, Wells Fargo Center, Oklahoma. Cam Whitmore comes back and actually injects some sort of life after the debacle in Portland. It was a game where we got to see, I think Cam probably only scored 7 points, but we saw flashes of everything. We won a game versus Oklahoma was better then. They ended up kind of being kind of trash, so we don't want to talk about that for too much. But huge game. That was a game where I was like, oh, and we even said on the podcast, maybe we can rip off, 3, 4 in a row, and we did. We got to be 7 and 5, and I was like, I don't know, could we beat UConn? The answer to that was no. But great game to kind of start positive vibes. That's my nomination for game of the year.
The Creighton game at home. But
That's-
I'm sorry, I have to take the obvious one there. The Creighton
Yep.
game at home was our best overall performance of the season. It came right after beating Xavier, which may be someone else's
that's mine.
nomination.
I was going to say Xavier away was going to be mine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got that nominated. Throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
So the context of both of those games, we can put them both up in the nomination category right now. Is we lose. Justin Moore comes back. We lose 3 games in a row, but we were all tight. We get a little bit of a couple get right games in a row at home. I think it was Butler and Paul and one other one. And following those get right games, Seton Hall was in there too. Following those get right games, we finally go on the road and win a tight game, final possession type game, with Justin Moore burying a dagger 3. So that's why the Xavier game comes in. Then we come back to the Wells Fargo Center. At that moment of time in the season, we were like, fuck, if we can go on and rip off a bunch of wins right now, maybe we can find back our way into an at-large, but we had to rip off a ton into the Big East tournament. We come back home, Creighton at home, and we absolutely demolished them. Just owned that game. It looked like old Villanova. Eric Dixon goes bucking bananas, and that's my nomination. And then obviously the Xavier game, the tight game at Xavier at the Cintas Center. Ultimately a Sweet 16 team in Xavier was Trevor and Chris's nomination.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah. The only thing I
maybe
would add for
Liberty,
that.
because it brought the season to a close.
Fair point.
Sweet mercy.
Yeah.
I like that. So for those who didn't hear that, because there was a little bit of background noise, but Liberty is Rob's nomination because he was like, bring this shit to an end. I like that one. Put that in the mix.
The sweet release of death game of the year.
The only thing I would add about Xavier away is for whatever reason, since Xavier has joined the Big East, Cintas Center has been this hyped away sort of atmosphere that's a really hard place to win, even though I would say Villanova has had a much easier time with Xavier statistically than they have with Butler. So I don't know that the Villanova fan base really quite fears Xavier in any sort of real way. I feel like the Cintas Center has sort of this reputation, or has earned a reputation And so I feel like that was the point in this season where we won that game on the road. Justin Moore looked like himself again, dropping 25 in that game or around there. And I feel like that was the moment of the season where it was like, oh man, they're going to make me believe again. Like it was sort of the peak February optimism. Well, I guess February optimism really peaked after the Creighton game after that. But like that Xavier win is really what was like, wait a minute here, like maybe we're not done. So that was why that one just kind of sticks out to me when I look through the schedule.
There you go. Chris, do we vote on this? I don't remember. Or is it just
kind of all just kind of.
Am I making an
whatever.
executive judgment here?
Yeah.
I think it's probably Creighton.
So I had Oklahoma and Creighton written down. I would probably give it to Creighton. I was skiing that weekend. I wasn't actually watching a game, but I look at my phone like, holy shit, we're up like 10.
But Willie's one of those weird people who, when he says he'll watch the replay, he fucking watches the replay.
Oh yeah, completely.
Everyone else who says I'm going to watch the replay watches highlights.
No. I will go back through. Every game's DVR'd. If I'm not able to watch it, I'm back there rewatching it later. It's a sickness I have.
To me, it was the Creighton game because that was like the most Villanova basketball-y game that we played the whole entire season.
It felt like that was the team that we hoped we could see for the whole year. That was our peak, frankly.
It was hope.
Cool.
Trevor, Chris, you guys.
The only other thing I have a cousin that went to Xavier, so every time we play them and can pull a win out against them, it's just like extra cherry on top for me. So that was nice because they had won. I think they won their first one away, like in our building this year. So getting them back at their place was nice for me. But I agree, Creighton was definitely the peak. I go Creighton.
Yeah, I think it was a toss up. So I begrudgingly consent to Creighton, so we can move on to the next one.
I'm going to interject. I'm going to interject one. A funny one, just to throw it out there. Narrative, one of us, doesn't have to be, it could be any of us in this podcast. Narrative that we were most right about. We were wrong about a lot this year, but as was everybody. But narrative that one of us was most correct on.
Probably.
I want to go first. I said that we would make the tournament, and Chris said we'd be more likely to cut the nets down.
Yeah.
That was a rough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, that's a good one. It's a good one, Brian.
That's a good one. I think my hating on Slater, which was a carryover from last year, and pushing down the hype train on that. And I never rebought in. Somehow people rebought into the potential of Brandon Slater this year. I didn't.
I was fortunate to not make any public predictions. So, but internally,
Trevor, you won't have that luxury anymore.
I know. Internally, and like in my basketball group chats, just that the coaching staff was probably going to get shaken up, thinking that we would have some departures, and hopefully Ashley Howard would come back. So that was a good one for me.
I'm gonna be honest. I think I have a bunch of misses this year. Even like good, bad. I don't think I hit any narratives. Which honestly,
yeah. Are we looking for misses or hits?
I forgot. I had a hit.
Hits. So Brian had a good hit, right?
Yeah.
Rob had a decent hit there. I'm gonna throw mine out. The thing I was most right on was UConn.
Oh yeah, spot. I knew that was.
I've got another one I'm right on. But go ahead, finish your UConn thing. That's true.
No, I don't have to say much else.
That's true. There's an ebb and flow on that because we gave you shit up front and they swooned. We're like, yeah, fuck this shit, but then they won the Natty. So that's a
they won the Natty easily.
Yeah. Last one I had, because I just remember this was I remember debating this at the beginning of the year. I said we were actually not a good 3-point shooting team, and we just weren't a good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Team. Yeah.
I still disagree. We were fine,
dude. We were ranked 200th in the country. We're not a good 3-point shooting team.
That's literally halfway.
Unfortunately, I think my best hit this year was not related to a current Villanova basketball player. It was Jalen Brunson being a superstar for the New York Knicks. I was
That, yeah.
so loud about that around the time of that leading up to that signing, around that signing. I went to war in Nick's Twitter when they were saying he was overpaid as like the 15th or 16th highest paid point guard. And I think most Villanovans were generally supportive of that, like it being a good thing that Jalen Brunson was on the Knicks. But I was very early and very loud. And then by midseason, it was like, Jalen Brunson's a superstar. Who would have known? And it's like, this guy.
Me.
Um,
Everyone who went to Villanova kind of understood that like the good Villanova basketball player might be good at basketball in general.
but I went so deep on that. Like if he had been a bust, like I would have had to eat a lot of crow. And every time he put up an all NBA performance, I was like that, that gif of Nicolas Cage like walking out with his hair flowing, like. So that's mine for the season, which I guess says how good of a college basketball season we all had this year, unfortunately.
All right. So I'm moving on to the next one.
What was the winner?
Oh, what was the winner of this? I think we're all kind of like pretty good here. Chris, I'm gonna give it to you because UConn won the title, and that was the one across the entire season. Honestly, we were poo-pooing you. Like Rob said, we were kind of on your side in the beginning of the year, and then the Big East happened to UConn, and that was just kind of it was a mess for them, but whatever, they pulled it together. So I think that's like the earliest win on record. You were on the pod saying it, you were on Twitter saying it. You had Brian fighting you about you positive UConn stuff.
Though you did say they could go undefeated.
Yes.
That
was
ridiculous.
irrational.
That
Undefeated,
is that is
Undefeated, and then they lost every game in January.
But they did go undefeated, not in Big East play. Like every other
Could
time.
have gone undefeated. That's
Yeah.
a possibility. So I don't think we should clown him for that. That can happen. Teams can go undefeated. Never has happened, but it could.
So Chris, we're gonna give it to you. I'm gonna
I actually would vote for Brian. I think we had a whole podcast dedicated to how fucking stupid we were.
Dude, I made fun of him at the time for that, like for the next week.
Yeah. That's also a really good.
I want to give it to Brian. I'm giving the 40. Brian,
Okay,
enjoy
I
some
give it
malt
to
liquor
you.
that
You
you won't
bequeath it
drink.
to Brian.
Nice.
I'll queef it to Brian.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, keep it going.
So this
Really
next
okay.
one's a new one I created. It's just called the
They're
player.
all new ones that you
Yeah,
we created.
But this one's brand new. At least I don't think you guys have done it before. The player of your nightmares. This goes to the opposing player who just in the game just absolutely rattled you to your core. It could be, it could be a really like whoever it's gonna be. My nomination is Moses Wood from Portland. I don't know if you remember Moses Wood, but he was the white forward #1 who he put up 16 and 6 versus us, but it wasn't like the numbers. It was just absolutely core rattling what he was doing to us. We had no answer for him. Moses Wood, here's your bottle. Here's your nomination, your bottle of malt liquor. It's all you. That game ruined me.
So we can't nominate one of our own.
Yeah,
Honestly, go for it.
I got John.
I'm gonna pick since we talked about the UConn thing. I'm gonna pick Jordan Hawkins because it was like I felt like when we played them at Wells Fargo Center, that was like the final moment where it was like if we can win this game, we just might be able to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament, and then we got obliterated because they started to get on their heater.
I have photos of my soul leaving my body during that game. Coach Johnson going crazy in front of me, and just like you can, I think it's my Twitter profile picture right now. I just there's no soul behind those eyes.
Like Jordan Hawkins, man, he fucking touched the ball and it was going through the net. He was the definition of on fire. He had like a Chris Jenkins like march. It was so good.
I was gonna say he's not even like a 3-point shooter, but he was just like hitting everything.
He's like the best 3-point shooter.
He's
in the
a
country.
very good 3-point shooter.
Really?
Yeah.
He's gonna go top 15 in the draft because he's an elite 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking not of Hawkins.
You're thinking Jackson.
Yeah, I was thinking of Jackson.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, Jackson can't hit a 3-pointer.
No. Andre Jackson's 3-point shot kind of looks like Jermaine Samuels because it goes even less. It goes in even less. Although he hits it against us.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I'm so torn right now between what's that? The Simas
Loquacious.
Loquacious is such a
dropped
good
28
pick.
against us. when we
That's
lost
gonna be
to
mine.
Such a
Butler.
good call. Yeah.
I think that because like he was the first. I couldn't remember his like full name off the top of my head, but he was the face that I saw when you asked the question, Willie. And then the other one, is Damian Dunn from Temple, because it was like we had like a solid first game. We were all happy. We saw everything we wanted to see out of the first game. Then we lost the second game of the year to Temple, and Damian Dunn had a fantastic game and buried us. But I think it's Lukosius.
I think that's a really good pull.
Who was it from DePaul that went off? Was it Mo Gibson that went off on us?
Ooh, I think it was. Ooh.
Oh, whatever.
I forgot we lost to DePaul this year also. That's
Yeah.
also,
We did. We lost to DePaul.
Yeah,
Happened.
that's
Thing that
also-
happened. That happened this
In
year.
reviewing my low point of the season, that came up. Yeah.
It was Deshaun Nelson had 24 on us.
Oh,
was
Deshaun
Deshaun
Nelson. No, I
Nelson.
can't vote. I love Deshaun Nelson. So
Yeah.
I can't vote against. I can't vote. It's weird because it's like I'm voting for him, but like it's also nightmare fuel guy. But he's not my nightmare fuel guy. I like him inspired.
like
by
him,
Deshaun
yeah.
Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I won't vote for that. So
Honestly,
Simas Lukosius is such a
Lukosius
good
is a
call. I
great
feel like
call.
I'm pulling. I feel like I'm really going for that one.
yeah,
Chris.
I think it's Lukosius there. I think we have quorum. It's Lukosius.
Yeah.
I just remember like screaming when he was pulling up from like 4 or 5 feet beyond the arc. He dropped 28 in that game.
And
Like,
he
I
didn't,
did
he
scream.
didn't have a great second game against us, but I was same. That was going to be my nomination.
All right. The next one. So we were talking a bit about narratives that we hit on. It's time to talk about some of the narratives that we missed on. The most ridiculous narrative that you heard that was just wrong of the entire season.
It doesn't have to be one of ours. It could
It
be.
does, yeah.
It could be anybody's.
Anything that was floating around in the Twitter sphere, internet sphere, Yahoo sphere, whatever it is. Chris, you had one that go ahead.
Yeah. Cam Whitmore shouldn't go to the NBA.
yep, that's a good one.
That is the most
Oh,
insane
God.
thing that's ever been uttered
People,
on the internet.
people are like, he could use another year of college. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. This is not the same guy. Like I understand that there's some guys who get drafted more on their skills versus their upside, but he's an upside guy. We're just not used to seeing that. And so there was a pool of people who were like, from what I could see, he's not amazingly better than everybody at college basketball, and therefore he should play another year. Like, no. That's not how this works for Cam. Cam is a guy who could literally jump to the top of the backboard. As a result, he should go to the NBA right fucking now. That is the worst narrative that I saw this year.
To this day, I try not to, but I'll start to type up responses when people are like, I still think, because it's still happening.
Yeah.
People are if you can go to corners of Villanova Twitter, I don't think Cam's ready. And it's like, you don't know ball. I don't know what else to tell you there. You just don't know ball, because one, he's more than ready. I don't even need to talk about the merits of why NBA basketball is easier in the regular season than college basketball for players, but it's just absolutely insane. And there's a reason why everything about Cam post leaving Villanova has been extremely positive. Every time he's talked to a team or anything like that, it's like, yeah. And I put money on him to go 3rd overall. So everyone, we're cheering for that much. We're cheering for him to go with number 3.
Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, but I need to bring up one other one that just came up recently, because you said the words, you don't know ball. And there was a back and forth on Twitter. I think it was a reply to one of the Full 40's tweets. And Alan Ray jumps into the replies. Alan Ray jumps into the replies. And then there's some other guy, and I'm not going to drop ads because it's not the point to hate on random Twitter users. But this guy goes back and forth with A-Ray. And the conversation concludes with this guy telling 2,000 plus point scorer, Naismith Award, finalist, All-American Alan Ray. He goes, I know you played, but you don't know.
Absolutely electric.
It was one of my favorite moments of Twitter. I was like, this is the greatest tweet I've ever seen in my entire life.
That is why Twitter exists, so that a person who is literally sitting on his phone can tweet to, quite literally, one of the better college basketball players to ever play college basketball. Like, just all American, objectively, you're one of the better ones to ever play, and say, you don't know ball. And there's no arguing that. Allen Ray can't fight back. What do you say? You're done.
He's fucking nuts, man.
Phenomenal.
Going off of the Cam thread, Willie and I were talking about this before. There was like people thought that Cam was like a locker room cancer just because like he wasn't smiling all the time. Like you don't have to be smiling to be a perfectly good teammate. That was kind of, and there was no like, there's no proof. It was just totally unfounded. There's no indication whatsoever that was even remotely close. It could have been, but like nobody said anything.
There was never not a thing about it. And
Yeah.
everything you saw on Instagram when he's hanging out with his teammates, there's he did like a TikTok with Jordan Longino, and I was like, yeah, there's no way that this team hates him. Like, it was absolutely insane. Any other narratives that we have?
Another bad one was that like Angelo, like the team's gonna miss Angelo Brizzi. Like Angelo Brizzi's like basically could
I've
have
missed
solved this
Brizzi.
team's problems. It's like, okay, sure, guys, couldn't crack the rotation, but he's the answer.
When he made that shot in the blue-white
I
scrimmage,
was just
like,
about to say that,
the
Brian.
Big East is going to be so mad. Like, what? It's a
I
scrimmage.
was there. I did that too.
Why was it on TV, that scrimmage? It's the first time I've ever seen it on TV.
I think it
Because
was
there's
just-
a
it was
lot
like
of hours of content to fill, Brian.
Yeah. It was like a stream thing. I'm glad it's on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I went in one year and it was like kind of boring, but
It's very like, yes, choppy, but
do you think we
I
should
don't-
bring back Brizzi though, so that we can have a 10-man rotation?
Well, I have a
Obviously.
reason for that. The only reason I wanted him, well, just obviously I wish everybody success, but I really wanted him to have like a heater of a game just to hear Gus Johnson yell "easy breezy." That was it.
Yeah.
It's actually reasonable. I just wanted to hear about people talk about white Italians at Villanova.
Very true.
we don't have any that. Oh, we have Arch.
We don't have it. We have a captain
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
a
he's
graduate
definitely-
student.
But I don't think we have anyone else. We don't have anyone else coming after him. So
We don't
We
have
might
anyone
be-
else coming.
Sorry. The
Except
line
for-
is, I don't care that you played. You don't know ball.
electric.
You should
Absolutely.
get that like framed and send it. It's like a joke.
Yeah. We need to send that to Alan Ray. That's what it needs to be. I think that's what it is. We're not sending a malt liquor. We're sending Alan Ray just a screenshot of that framed. That's his 40 version.
I love
I don't
that.
care that you.
He
you
did. He
don't-
did just start a podcast, Rain and Threes podcast. So
Yep.
we are big believers in, even if it's not part of our network, big believers in all Villanova content is excellent. So but I would love for him to record that with that tweet blown up in the background. I think that's terrific. He should put that in. He also owns like a home improvement company. He should put that tweet in every house that he builds. So
Love it.
the final one is that Kyle's going to get fired after the last season. Now, like that to me was just like a stupid thing. Like
It
people were
wasn't
like,
going to
"Oh,
be a 1 year thing.
it was never going to be a 1 year thing." Like now, with that being said, with the way this portal has transpired, with the way the boosters have supported the program through this portal, I do think that he is at risk after this year if they don't make the tournament. But for year one, that was never going to get fired after year one, ever. So
Yeah.
that's the only other one I'll throw out. For me, the one that we started with is the best narrative. To me, it's like the best dumb narrative is the Cam Whitmore.
I hope we get a chance to talk about how ridiculous the Chris Archer-Diacono hate train was, but it's not better for this 40 than the Cam Whitmore isn't ready narrative. Like that just wins this one easily in my mind.
Yeah.
The Chris Archer-Diacono hate train is a good topic. The Chris Archer-Diacono hate train was always dumb because he is who he is, and like just because he played, like that should be more part of the Kyle train than the Chris train, right? Like so,
I also thought the louder that hate train got, like the sneaky, like better he like started to play while nobody was like people were so concerned that he like they were complaining, but then he was like he finished the year like he shot 38% from three. Like yeah, he wasn't great, and you summed it perfectly. He is who he is. It's like why are we hating on this kid for just like going in there and trying his hardest when he gets the opportunity?
Yeah.
The narrative was like if we're going to talk about the narrative, when we were 2-5, we were looking for a scapegoat. People weren't putting it on Kyle; they were putting it on Chris Archdiakon. It was basically that Chris was the reason that we were 2-5, which is insane because no one's eighth man is the reason that they're 2-5. Like that's just not. There was everything that happened before him that made us 2-5, starting with Kyle, starting with injuries. Chris, just like he is what he is, and he's valuable to the program. He's valuable to the team. That whole entire narrative was absolutely stupid, but I think it has to go to the Cam. It has to go to the Cam. Should come back to school. Cam Whitmore's.
It was never a world.
He may never walk back on Villanova's campus again. But never a world. That's where our theoretical bottle of malt liquor goes to. But much more realistically, I'm actually going to make a note. We're going to send Alan Ray that tweet. I'm going to do it. I'm going to screenshot it and send it to him. Yeah, that's going to happen.
It was sent on May 18th. If that helps you find it.
I think I have it bookmarked, honestly. So, all right, cool. The next award, one that everyone's pretty familiar with, but it's the Pass the Fucking Ball Award.
Ooh, can we pick a moment? Do we have to pick a moment or a player?
Either or. Why not?
Okay.
I have a moment and
I have a moment that was one singular player.
Yeah,
so like it's kind of both. But for me, I don't even remember the game that it happened in, but it was Caleb Daniels. And he missed a three, somehow corralled the rebound, ran out to the 3-point line, shot it again, missed it, somehow corralled the rebound. I don't know if he actually got the rebound or someone passed to him, but whatever, it doesn't matter. In my story, he ran and grabbed all the rebounds. Grabbed the second rebound and shot it again and missed. And he missed like at least three 3-point shots at the end of the game. Never passed the ball. And it was like made for that moment. It was like, that is the Pass the Fucking Ball Award. Like he needed to pass. He just wasn't the guy in that moment. Look, Caleb gave everything to the program. He just got engaged. So kudos to him and congrats to him.
He passed the rock there.
He passed that rock, right? Like that was a good pass for him. But this year, just he did everything he could to be the alpha, and it just wasn't in the cards for whatever reason. It didn't work out, and so but that moment was emblematic. I think of that whole moment, and to me, that was the Pass the Fucking Ball Award.
My only nomination is Kyle's like under 8 seconds left in a game timeout plays that he drew up that always just ended with like an Eric Dixon 33-foot 3-point attempt.
Yep. So many
like
2
or 3 of
times.
those. I don't necessarily want to get into that too much, but that's my only nom.
A good nom.
Yeah,
That is definitely
that was a recurring theme.
That was a very good nom.
My nomination goes to Cam Whitmore just because he didn't pass the ball. It was just, this is pure statistics, Cam. Love you. I'm so excited for your NBA future. I think he can do it, but 0.7 assists per game, 1.6 turnovers, pass the fucking ball. That was just what it was. And obviously, I know we kind of designed it for him not to pass the ball. Like it was kind of like, Cam, save us. But for the sake of this story, pass the fucking ball. That's mine.
I like it. I like
Those
Trevor's.
are 3 good
I like
noms.
Trevor's.
Those are
Like
3 good.
I think Trevor's is the one for me because it was just like this shouldn't happen multiple times, and then it fucking happened like at least 3 times.
It was
like,
at least 3, maybe
me?
4. Yeah.
Like it was like I remember like
versus Michigan State versus Marquette. It wasn't a 3-pointer versus Marquette versus Creighton. At Creighton, he had he had the shot.
Yeah.
And there was at least one or two more. It was at least
We had a
three
lot of
times.
close games and a lot of situations that ended with that.
Yeah.
I
think
actually, I think that might be the winner.
Yeah, rather than try to nominate another one, I'm trying to decide between the ones that are already on the board, and I think I have to throw my weight behind Kyle's end of half, end of game, drawing up of plays, and that seriously being something we look for improvement on in year 2, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he was billed as the master recruiter. That has played out in spades through the transfer portal season. Now we need to see the success on the court, and that's like one of the biggest areas that I think the whole fan base was like, "What?" So. So I gotta give it to, I'm voting Kyle.
Not that Jay was a fucking savant and out of bounds play calling.
No way.
We had 2.
He had the best two.
I think we have to figure out,
Wide
this as an
spectrum.
aside, if George can draw up out of bounds plays at Buffalo. Like, is it like a Jay Wright disciple thing that you just can't draw up an out of bounds play? Or like, I got to start watching a lot of Buffalo games to see if Buffalo just has like perfect out of bounds execution, out of bounds executions there, or if it's just like a Jay Wright thing.
That's another thing though, Willie, that like you're like so weird about is like you say I'm gonna start watching more Buffalo games, and like I actually believe you.
Oh yeah,
And, like
no.
like if I said I was gonna start watching more Buffalo games, I'd just be fucking lying.
I will say, like, I watched maybe one Buffalo game last year. It'll probably go up to like 3. So, you know.
That's 3 more.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
All right. So this one I think is everyone's favorite award. There's talk about it getting a new name in the future, but this is our social media person, tweet, whatever you want to call it, Twitter follow person of the year. I think there's a lot of nominations that we can have here. I'm going to take a little step back, let you all nominate people. We'll talk about the potential renaming of the award a little bit later.
So I'm going to nominate, and it's biased, like anything else that we do is. It's biased because we just brought him on to the network, but Tommy Godin, to me, was the dude this year. Had the scoops, he had the intel, but in addition to that, kind of just had like a very steady hand, I feel like, on the wheel of a very tumultuous season and off season. And I thought Tommy was just an electric follow, and someone who personally I've gotten to know over the year. I also thought that he blended in some other good content with his food takes, so to speak. You know, I took part in that with him once at the Pavilion. But I thought Tommy was an outstanding follow, and kind of one of those years where, like, some years where you're really good, you can kind of just go to the really funny person. And some years when there's a lot going on, you want kind of a steady hand. And I thought Tommy kind of was that steady guy whole season long.
If you're talking about
Completely
steady
agree.
hands and you're not following the leader, I don't know what you're doing.
I
Talk
think there
about it,
might
Tom.
be another award for him. I think
Yeah.
there might be another award.
Has to be.
I'm gonna nominate leader's burner account that predicted Bronny James to Villanova, which happened to come the day before he went to USC, which I think was serendipitous.
So that means it could have actually been leader.
That's what it must have been him. It was just too on brand.
It was either going to happen or it wasn't going to happen, as they say.
I'm
Got to throw Sakatology in the mix, as always.
Yep.
Sakatology was good this year. He was so that's the other side, right? Like,
Yeah.
It was a very tumultuous year, and Sakatology was like, he's always funny, but he was like his humor was. I think that he found a way to still be very funny in a very tight year.
He also had Seton Hall. I think he's like a
He's a big
closeted
Seton Hall guy.
Seton Hall fan. So he had 2 very rough seasons to navigate, and you just can't give him that much to work with.
I'm gonna nominate, and I mean this like sincerely. I love this person's tweets. Every time she tweets, it makes me smile. I don't know if you've all seen her, Susan Falvey. Susan Falvey.
I love Susan.
Susan, I love you. Big on calling Tommy Scoops. And just every time I see the UFO tweet with the portal, it brings joy to my heart.
It's the best. It's
Susan
the
Falvey is
best.
a big. I just have to throw her out there. Absolutely
I'm,
great.
I'm all in. I love Susan.
I was gonna say I don't have anything better than Tommy G. I had a very similar experience, Chris, to what you just described. Like, didn't really know him at all before the season started chatting, like texting, had him on Tip Time a couple times, became friends, like text about non-Villanova things. He's a hustler. He's working so hard. Like I think he's like, going to do some really good things when it comes to basketball reporting. And I just hope that Villanova stays a part of that for, however far he goes, because he has like legit talent for, I think, basketball journalism. And
Yep.
I think it's awesome that we're, nominating for a 40 here, but we also reeled him into the Nova Insider Network. It's like pretty serendipitous there. So gotta go a second nom for Tommy G here.
Yeah. I don't want to strong arm this, but like I'm pretty high on Tommy G. Like Tommy also was like part of the Road to the Garden, and they kind of cover the whole Big East, and he has a lot. There's a lot of different personalities involved in that, with Matt St. Jean and a couple other guys who are Chris the Dinga, I think his name is, and Mike DeRosa. Like they do a great job over there, but like Tommy has been like so. I keep saying steady hand. He's just like a steady guy, and like I feel like that was just so needed for Nova Nation this year. So I'm really pushing Tommy G getting the 40 here.
I mean, I feel like Tommy G is going to be it, but I just want to keep nominating some people, and I could wax poetic about Tommy. This is one we brought up on the pod a little bit, and I just want to talk about it. Chris Arch's #1 fan, which we don't know, might be Chris Arch himself, but great, just because it came at the time.
But is Chris Arch's #1 fan? Is Chris Arch's #1 fan an actual Chris Arch supporter, or a Chris Arch hater that is using this burner as his outlet?
That's the beauty of it. I cannot tell. That's what makes it such a great account. I think it's a hater who is using it as an outlet, honestly. But I
think you're right. I do think you're right. I think it's a hater that's using it as an outlet. I think it's sarcastic.
Yeah, it's a little condescending. Maybe not a little.
I had to ask Brian if it was him. I had to ask Brian.
I thought it was someone sincere until he told his boss it was some story about wearing a Chris Arch jersey to work, and his boss promoted him because he didn't deserve it. It was like, that's where I think he laid it on too thick, and it's a coping mechanism for him. But it's well done.
It's so good.
It's really well done. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the new profile picture Chris Arch's #1 fan. It's the same Chris Arch thing, but with the pride flag in the background, and it's absolutely killing me. I love it.
A June 1 campaign. I like that.
But yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Chris. I think it should go to Tommy. For however long time he's going to be covering Villanova basketball, just you can see from his demeanor, from everything that he handles, like he's going to be covering Villanova, but he has a really bright future just in sports journalism in general. Like this is a great time to have him here. I like the idea of steady hand, especially like I didn't think about that wording of it, but during this year, I would look for his content more than anything because I knew he was going to ask good questions. He was going to write great articles, whether it's on VU Hoops, Road to the Garden, whatever he's doing. I knew that there was going to be great content coming from him. I'm excited he's in the fold. I think this should go to Tommy. I feel like we have a pretty good quorum there.
Tommy gets my vote. I also just want to shout out Eric Dixon, the dad.
Oh, yes. Great one.
For keeping us sane. Mrs. Armstrong, too.
Yep.
They both were like, Chris and I had talked about it during the season, but it was like, it's insane how grounded they kept a lot of people, and they kept, helped me keep my faith once or twice. Tried to A-Ray obviously gets a nod as always.
As always.
Yep. Awesome.
Colin Gillespie also.
I almost said Colin.
Colin was very involved on social media this year. His team is currently playing.
He's a little busy now, but between like January and March, he was really just. I was like, Colin, you should like, I don't know, do something else.
Should be rehabbing, dude.
I do have to throw another nom in. I'm still voting for Tommy.
Yeah.
But late break Nova MBB account, because they tweeted the most ridiculous tweet the other day. It was literally like a finals logo, and it was like Kyle Lowry dribbling a basketball, and an edit of Colin Gillespie wearing a Nuggets jersey dribbling a basketball.
It wasn't an edit. It was a summer league jersey.
That's like Gillespie isn't rostered for this series. Okay, that was wild. I was like, I think I commented. I was like, "This is the funniest fucking Nova MVP tweet ever."
So it's similar to that picture of Della Vedova guarding Michael Jordan, which is one of my favorites ever because Michael Jordan's black and white, Deli's in color.
That's great. All right, well then I think the next couple I want to go to, as we're kind of getting towards the end of this, is one is I don't know what order I want to do it. We're just going to go with one kind of. I feel like we all know this is going to go to. It's the Shaq Fit man person of the year. I'm just going to nominate who I think it should be, and it should be none other than Shaq Fit himself. Yeah. Giving him just the flowers for the amazing work he's done through Villanova for the last, how long has he been at Nova? 10 years?
It was almost 10. It was right around 10 years.
Yeah. I just think, obviously we named the award after him, and this is just a shout out to him for the amazing work he's done. We're going to have the weakest team in the country now that he's gone. So
I am not even going to accept another recipient of the award. I think we should just take this moment to all bow to Shaq and everything that he did for Villanova, for our podcast too, but for Villanova.
Yeah, can I also say shout out? Like, I think that was the best original content that you guys have produced when you did the Shaq Fit thing. So I'm saying that like dead serious. I want to at least mention that here, especially Rob being your last episode and all, but. Like how many strength and conditioning coaches have a legitimately transformational impact on like an elite caliber program? Like, guy's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what's wild is I don't know if you guys did you ever download the Shaq Fit app?
I did.
Yeah. So he started giving it like free during COVID, and that's when I was like I got in the best shape of my life just doing it was like non-weightlifting stuff. It was all like plyometric and like just running. And I followed the Shaq Fit app, and I was like, holy shit. It was like 2.5 months, and I was just following the app, and I was like, I feel fantastic. And I mean, that's just the power of Shaq Fit, baby. I don't know what else to say.
I love it.
I did the same thing, Willie, and I was in really good shape. And then COVID kept going, and I started drinking more alcohol.
Yeah, no.
Then you had a baby. And then your wife.
Then I had a child. Yeah.
If COVID was like 3 months, I was walking out there perfect, but whatever.
Yeah.
2 years is a little too long.
Yeah. Just laying it on thick.
But anyway, back to Shaq. And I want to give Rob a moment to speak to Shaq, just because Rob is really into fitness in general. But like this guy, like Chris, you hit the nail on the head. We reached out to him. He was super gracious the entire time. Like I can't even begin to tell you. Like we asked him, like,
cold outreach.
Cold outreach. Can you work us out? We're going to record it in the place of your work, right? And then we want to sit with you and talk for a long time. And he was like, yeah, totally. And then on top of that, it was like we did that whole thing. Rob, I think you and I were thinking maybe we'd get a couple hours with him total between the two things. And I think we spent the morning and early afternoon with him. He recorded with us for like an hour and a half. He just wanted to chat. He was good. And then on top of that, it was like the relationship that we built with him. Like Rob and I texted with him for since up until today. I actually texted with him. Like he just was like a good dude. I had to say it better than that. He's just like a good man. Like he's family oriented. He gives a big amount of shit about his work. He's loyal. I mean, Rob and I will even go like loyal to a fault. Like the fact that he was with the program this long was actually loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
And he was just like a humble like gentleman, all through, like straight up and down, just like a really, 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 really good guy. And just a couple other things to point out, like there was Colin Gillespie actually brought it up on another podcast of ours, but like we reached out to him the day after Villanova beat UConn a year ago in the Big East tournament. And Brandon Slater had that block, like, and we reached out to him and was like, can you record a video saying that's the Shaq Fit Man play of the year? And he was like, yeah, I'm all in, like, and did it and posted it. And it was like, he just was so in tuned and was like so appreciative that we wanted to work with him on that type of stuff. And on top of that, obviously, totally transformational conditioning program for the program, because everybody talked about it. It was like these Villanova guys are built like fucking ox, like they're like the most rock solid guys like in the entire country. I don't understand how they could be that good. And he never got his flowers. Like it was very rare that his name got brought up on a broadcast, but he deserved it.
Yep.
Because nobody would ever talk about the fact that the reason why Villanova was so built, like when people say culture this, culture that, culture this. No, it was twofold. It was one, Shaq was that much better than everybody else. And two, Jay and subsequently Kyle put such an emphasis on how they performed during the Shaq Fit Lab that it impacted playing time. So like if you didn't buy into that, that was part of the culture of Villanova basketball. And to have that level of outsized importance is incredible. And final point, just to really put a bow on all of this, I asked, and it's on Twitter, so you can see it. I asked Jalen Brunson once, he was doing a Q&A during COVID, and he said, and he said, like, ask me anything. And I said, who's the most underrated but most important person to the Villanova program? And he responded, all caps, quote tweet, Coach Shaq. So like, there you go. The GOAT says that Shaq is the GOAT. Shaq is the GOAT. So
And
to your point, Chris, this past season, I brought two friends to games separately who both played like high-end college football. Both of their comments were, these dudes are big. Like both, one played at West Virginia, there was Syracuse. So they worked out with college basketball players. And they were like, our guys never looked like this. Like that's just what stood out to both of them, just looking at the kids, which I thought was pretty cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
Rob,
Yeah.
sorry, I said a lot, but
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know a ton more to add. I mean, I think we hit a lot of the facets of it, from the importance of it to just, I think, Shaq's just generosity and kind of opening up the lab was super cool. If I remember correctly, he may have even offered that. I can't remember if we even thought we'd be able to get that and do a workout with him, but he offered it up pretty freely, which was super cool. And then obviously just, it wasn't even like, oh, I'll show you around. It was like, no, like stick around here for 45 minutes or whatever it was. So just a really, really cool experience overall. Obviously did a lot for our podcast, so we have a great personal thanks there. And then obviously, his work did just a ton for the program and kept the guys in great health, which, knock on wood, like the team has been really healthy with the side of Justin and the broken hands, which certainly there's nothing you can really do about that. It's kind of a fluke thing.
that happens in the
we did ask about that on the episode. We were why are these guys getting broken hands? Like, what's up with you?
So it's so weird. It's so weird. But yeah, no, he'll absolutely be missed for sure. It's replacing another top tier talent and part of the program. Like, it'll be challenged, but hopefully who comes in next will have to step up too. But yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch with Shaq, and curious to see and excited to see kind of what comes next for him.
And just as a heads up for everybody else, so he's had offers on the table for years from everybody, from like whatever. He's going to go be Russell Wilson's personal trainer. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that. Like that's one of the things that he's doing. He's going to do a bunch of other stuff, but he's got a lot of celebrity and athlete reach outs. One of those is Russ Wilson. the quarterback of the Denver Broncos. So just to get you an idea of the level that we're operating here. And in addition to that, in terms of successor, handpicked, Villanova did a national search and found a guy who was a assistant of his back like several years ago. It wasn't assistant right this
2013, 2014, something like
yeah,
that.
it was earlier on, but a guy who's like fully bought into the Shack Fit program as like a way to do. He's like a disciple of Shack Fit. So I think we're in good hands, but obviously the flowers need to go, and the bottle of malt liquor that he would definitely never drink needs to go to John Shackleton.
I think that's awesome. I think that's it. So I have one more, I think our big one that I want to hand out, but I'm going to pause. I think there might be a couple more that you guys might want to add.
There's at least one more. There's at least one more.
Is it the NIT one I'm forgetting?
No, it might be that, but I was going to bring up the toxic positivity award.
Oh, yes, the toxic positivity one. There we go.
Yes. So we talked about some negative narratives that were a little crazy, but I think we need to bring up some of the folks who were a little positive to the toxic end of the spectrum here. And there's a few nominees here, but we're gonna call the award for the future reference the Leader Johnson Award of Toxic Positivity. And my nominee for the eponymous award is Leader Johnson,
Has to be.
as of yesterday, tweeted out that the 2023-2024 edition of Villanova basketball is arguably more talented than the greatest team that we've ever fielded. So I think we could give. I think my nominee is for my nominee for the Leader Johnson Toxic Positivity Award is Leader Johnson.
That statement is so insane to me because there was six NBA, like Colin hasn't played yet, but six people who have played in an NBA game or will have played. Colin will do it next year.
No, that'll be 7.
Who's the seventh?
What?
I think it was
Oh,
six.
no, Phil didn't play. Yeah,
But then Jermaine had a really good G League year. Like if you told me Jermaine in like a season gets like a game or two in the NBA, I wouldn't be shocked. So potentially 7 NBA players on that team, and this team. I hope this team is better than 2018. I'll have a great year. But if we talk about toxic positivity, that's the definition of it.
I totally agree with you. The craziest thing about it is I saw he was going back and forth with Chris Lane earlier today because Chris Lane was just like, this is crazy, dude.
Chris had the time.
And Chris Lane is another nominee.
and Leader kind of gave him the like, you don't know ball sort of response, right? But like the original tweet had like I looked at it, it was like pushing like 90,000 impressions. So unfortunately it for whatever he was going for there, it might have worked. You know what I mean?
No, he's getting the eyeballs.
The best
he
quote
got
tweet,
the eyeballs on that.
The best quote tweet of that tweet was a guy I interact with a little bit on Twitter, but he's a Providence guy. Bang City Friar is his @ if you don't want to get on this guy's bad side because he'll just like shred you like constantly, but he goes by the name Bluff, but he literally he was like I see that fentanyl has made it to Philadelphia. Oh, God.
It was fentanyl laced crack, I think he said.
Yeah, it was.
I see that fentanyl laced crack has made it to the main line.
Another big one was Ant Wright. I don't know if y'all know. No, he's like a basketball scout. He has like takes that are right, that are wrong, but he's like pretty big in like the Hooper community. And he quote tweeted Leader as well, basically calling him out because he also apparently Leader didn't have Franz Wagner on his like top 100 board like 3 years ago, which is insane to not have a guy who was a lottery consensus player on your top 100 board. But he quote tweeted him, and I think that's where like a lot of the views came from because he has like 60 something thousand followers on Twitter. and basically called out leader. So leaders time in the ranks.
Yeah. I have a few other nominees.
Go off.
4 other nominees. Me. Chris Lane. So a lot of people named Chris because me, Chris Lane, Chris Notaro, and the Nova starting 5 guys. I love all these people, but the Nova starting 5 guys, all on the toxic positivity train moment, whatever. I feel like I derailed myself early enough to probably not win this award. I was definitely
I don't
on
think
it.
that's fair for you, to be honest, because I subtweeted all of these people, and I know sometimes you thought I was mentioning you. And as the critic of the positive people, I don't think that fit. Like, I think you're giving yourself too hard of a time for that. To be fair, which I'd rather not be, but I have.
Chris Notaro, I'm giving you a hard time a little bit, but
Oh no, I deserve it. I think that, and I feel like we talked about this at times during the season, Chris, like in private. Like I feel like there were times where just like as a fan, as an alum, and as like a Mets and Jets fan, I was like getting so like in my personal life and in my personal mind about the team, I was like kind of getting like, oh no, like please Villanova like cannot become another like Mets and Jets in my life. Like I literally will not survive that. That like in private, I was like maybe skewing a little bit more negative, and so like public, what I was just more so just like I don't know, I just didn't want to add to like the negativity that was swirling, and so I was like trying to like be a little bit more uplifting, and I think at times that was definitely to a fault. So I can appreciate the honorable mention, but I'd also like to think I wouldn't win necessarily be a true candidate to really win this award.
I think you're fair. I think you're in a good spot.
It's got to be leader.
It's
I don't
got,
think
I mean,
nobody
it's leader.
comes close.
It has to
leader.
be.
Yeah.
Just the last
Nobody
couple of
comes
days have been so crazy.
He's
Like,
been
so
really
crazy.
he's been really on some stuff the last couple of days. Like, this off season, like he's always been this, but this off season, I've been like, you're really laying it on thick right now. Like, I don't know. It's rough.
I mean, the tweet that really turned me towards being like, because I always like, I've been aware of him for a long time, and I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna let this kind of ride. The thing that really bothered me, I don't know why this was the one, but there was we started offering 2024 guys, and he tweeted out that they were impressive offers, and I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I could offer Christian Bliss,
Yeah.
right? Like here, Christian Bliss, you come play for Chris Bellotti. You can come play for me. Is that an impressive offer? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Can we not forget when I did a deep dive with him last year because he said Kyle Neptune was an elite recruiter, and I found all of his old tweets where he literally said that about every other assistant coach except Kyle Neptune. And then I found the tweets where he was tweeting at coaches saying, DM me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a nominee should be the Brian leader, like alt Twitter, fake Twitter day you did as
oh yeah, that was
like
a great day,
was that like a
Brian.
month or two
It
ago?
blocked me because of that, which like I saw coming, but like I thought he would at least mock me and then do it. He didn't even acknowledge it. It was sad.
That was a rough day because like you got me a couple times where you tweet. I was like, "There's no way leader." And I was like, "Oh no, it's just Brian."
Dude, you were the one the day before that was like, "You should do that." I was like,
"Yeah, I know." I gave you the idea, and it's still.
That was my favorite Friday of 2023.
All right, we have the ultimate award, the Alpha Dog, right?
Yep, Alpha Dog. We all know who this is going to. We have Chris is wearing her jersey. We haven't spoken about her much on this pod, but the Alpha Dog goes to Maddie Segrist.
We're not nominating anybody else.
There's not an option. There's not anything else to talk about. But the joy of watching Maddie Segrist play this year over the last 4 years has been fantastic. But then this year, taking it up to another level, the joy of and pain of the Miami game, of us getting the doors blown off of us, and then just seeing that comeback happen. The joy I felt during that comeback was unreal. But Maddie Segrist, all-time Villanova leading scorer, all-time Big East leading scorer. One of the, well, I think finished like 6th in single season scoring behind Kelsey Plum. Just one of the statistically greatest seasons that we've ever seen, that we will ever see, that college basketball has ever seen. Is on the wings now. Has started off a little bit slow, but is starting to figure it out and is starting to like carve out some minutes and starting to play a little bit better. But Maddie Siegrist, this has been just an absolute like. If once again, we said this before, we waxed poetic about it before, but if you don't recognize that what we watched at Villanova was one of the, I'll just go back and say 50 greatest women's basketball players of all time, like that's what we just saw this year. So Maddie Siegrist, the alpha dog of the year.
And because it's a year award and not necessarily even a career award, it's a year award. She had like one of the 5 best basketball seasons ever.
Yeah.
And I think
One
that
of the
was
best games ever.
yeah, with the
50 points on
Yeah, she
6
scored
missed,
50.
She missed 6 shots. She missed 6 shots.
Yeah,
20
and
for
I wasn't.
26.
I tried not to like tear Caitlin Clark down because she also had an amazing year. But like, and I know it's such a homer's opinion, but like, how did Maddie not win that? Like, I don't know.
it's just kind of the nature of the whole beast, but whatever. I think the moment where it really solidified was when we fully won Rob over on it. Not that Rob was ever like fuck Maddie Siegrist. Like Rob was just like, are we really like
Yeah.
Rob was just naturally skeptical of everything.
It's
And
good. It's
then
fair
we started
representation.
then we started running through the statistics on this year, and Rob was like, "Holy fuck!"
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Yeah. I didn't realize like the echelon that she was in. I was like, oh shit, like that's there are very few people above her. I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
Because she got plenty of hype last year too, because she was even last year she won the equivalent of like
Biggest player of the year last year.
she
Yeah.
won biggest player of the year. She also won like power forward of the year.
Karina, I forget what they're
Yeah,
called.
whatever
Yeah.
they're the women's power forward award. And that I was like, oh, okay, well that's pretty legit. And then yeah, like this year I was like, wow, it's the jump she took was absolutely crazy. Like coming off that, it's tough to follow it up, and she obviously followed it up and then some. Super
And
cool.
Trina McLean. I wanted to just get their name right.
Katrina McLean, that's right.
Yeah.
She was absolutely fantastic. And then that doesn't even go to speak to kind of like the culture fit that she was for everything that is Villanova. She was just unbelievable. Like the video of her at the St. John's
Yep.
game when there was like a crowd of like 50, 60 people like swarming her, little girls, like whatever, their families, and like everyone's asking for a signature. And I think the story from that was that Villanova had to literally pull her away because she was like, whatever. And like then afterwards ask her about it, and she's like, if I could just impact one little girl and she wants to play basketball, I'm like, I'm fucking in tears. I'm like fucking crying. Like this is the most beautiful thing. As the father of a daughter, I'm like, this woman is just unbelievable. And then she goes and gets drafted number 3.
Number 3.
In the draft, and is a professional. And
Yes.
it didn't take her long to adapt to being a professional because the way she conducts herself is like a professional. So
Exactly.
like on top of everything else from an accolade perspective, as a representative of all of our alma mater, she is just absolutely fantastic. A clear alpha dog of the year, not even close. No one even in the same echelon. And maybe never, ever will there ever be anybody in the same echelon. But she has put that women's program on her shoulders and has created a circumstance where that women's program has a chance right now to jump
Potentially,
into kind of like a top level program.
Yep. And that's because of Maddie Siegrist.
100%.
That's the beauty of it. Anything else to say about Alpha Dog, about Maddie?
Hang the fucking jersey. Get it up immediately. Don't wait 5 years. Do it now.
That's true. Yeah.
I didn't mean to disassociate. I was just the end of this Miami-Denver game was just crazy. Kyle Lowry draws even 1-1 with Colin Gillespie.
That's pretty wild.
I was a Michael Porter Jr. 3 away from making like $4,000. So I was also looking and I missed that. So that sucks.
I'm sorry, Willie.
Willie's got some close bets that just
Yeah.
Willie's betting like Villanova's, 5-point losses all season. One
So
shot
close.
away. Yeah.
1 shot away. So close. I make the big parlays. I get 6 out of 8 of them or 7 out of 8. And then I'm like, damn, if I just took 2 off. All right. So I think that ends the award section on the 40s then.